Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum podcast. My name is Citizen Strife, and this week I talk about Mega Man X5, because I talked about Mega Man 5 OG a couple weeks ago. And this one suffers about the same as 5 does, mostly just because the cracks are beginning to show in a different way. I think a lot of the issue with OG 5, is it's in the same hardware. It's pretty much the same game it's been since the first one. X5 has issues in its design that are not just, hey, we're doing Mega Man again, or Mega Man X again. No. Like, Mega Man X4 was pretty good, but some of the design choices in X5 really screw it up. And I think it's running on the same engine from the looks of it, but it goes about the way it presents the game in a frustrating way. And it ends up becoming a problem to play and really just gain momentum. Because I don't think it's a problem with the game itself. Yeah, you have the same issue that you always have with it, are the games and the stages all interesting? And I would say that there is a problem with some of the stages, but a couple of design flaws exist in 5 that didn't exist in X4, X5 that didn't exist in X4. I gotta stop saying 5 and I gotta use X5 just to make sure. Because there weren't really design flaws in Mega Man 5. It was just more Mega Man, but that's its own thing. But anyway, what I will say is good is that X4 and X5 have really tried to enhance Zero as a character, because there's only so much you can do with Mega Man X, right? X is protagonist. He's a nice guy. He doesn't like fighting. He kind of comes across kind of whiny about it sometimes. Like, this is dumb. But then he'll have his moments where he's whiny. I'm like, you gotta stop. We're gonna fight anyway. And I'm like, okay, well, you already know how this is going to end. You just fight them anyway, because they're all Mavericks. At least with Zero, in this one specifically, they talk about how he was created by Dr. Wily in a way where it's like they hide it, and then they kind of don't hide it, but then they do, but then they don't. But they're talking about Zero succumbing to the Sigma virus or the Zero virus a little bit more. Again, this is kind of the Castlevania problem, where there's only so much story you can have, because this is a jump and shoot game. Nobody's here for the story, but you need to justify the story enough, especially the longer you go in a franchise, that it's just like, okay, it makes some sense. It has to mean something at some day. And there it is. But it's as per usual. They do lots of fighty stuff, and they fight stages. You get to use X, you get to use Zero. Zero does his usual fighty with the sword saber stuff, the Z saber stuff, and he's very close range. Mega Man is longer range. They don't really have any other distinct differences other than their fighting styles. It's not a thing where Zero is faster and then X shoots faster or something like that. I think they try to do that with like Proto Man in some instances. Like, you play as Proto Man, you get like more damage, but you're slower or something like that. That's not really the case in this. It's, do you want to fight with a sword? Do you want to fight with a shooter? Kind of. Well, everybody wants to play as Zero. So anyway, story in this one is they're finding Sigma viruses, because of course they are, because it's a Mega Man. I was going to say Final Fantasy, Mega Man X game. Of course it has Sigma in it. When is a X game not going to have Sigma in it? I keep harping on that because it's true. But they fight Sigma on top of a thing early, and they fight him, and he's just the intro boss, sort of, and then he's the final boss. Of course he is. But his goal is to make the Sigma virus widespread on this like colony that's floating around the Earth, or whatever facsimile of Earth this takes place in. And they need to find the Maverick Hunters. They need to find the parts and supplies needed to create the Enigma, or to upgrade the Enigma, this space shuttle that can crash into a colony and supposedly stop the virus and then stop this thing from falling and basically becoming a meteorite. So it's kind of like a version of like the end of Age of Ultron, where they're trying to throw the fucking like a city onto a planet and blow the fuck up. Kind of the same idea. So you got to use Mega Man or you got to use Zero. Their stories don't really change much. I know there's this thing where you can kind of change how Zero interacts near the end, depending on how much stuff you get done early, so that you can fight him and he's easier, or you can fight him and he's harder. But that's really all that amounts to. So the story's kind of the same. Zero takes point and flies the space shuttle, and you fight Sigma, and then of course you fight Sigma because you do. There is this character Dynamo shows up. He doesn't really have a point in the story. I don't know why he's here other than to have his music, play, which is fine. Like, the music is nice, but he as a character doesn't really do anything. He just exists because, hey, we had Vile, we had Bass, we had this guy and this guy and this guy. We have to have you don't have to have a sidekick character. You don't have to have a sidekick antagonist. So Dynamo is probably the weakest one I've ever seen, because he just shows up and says, I want to fight you. So you do, and you fight him a couple of times, and then I don't think he even shows up at the ending. So it's just kind of silly. But whatever. Can't win them all. But you go through the stages, and I will say some of the music and some of the stages are interesting. Some are not. But we'll do what I did with 5, Mega Man 5, and talk about the songs and the stages and the whatever. Grizzly Slash. Destroyed cars, and then you do a cave warehouse kind of thing. You blow the shit up, you fight some cars, and you kind of just jump from car to car to car, and you do damage. But then you fight Grizzly, and his whole thing is he will swipe at you, he will jump at you slowly, but then he'll kind of slide under the rock here and there, and then come out from the end. Like, I do like the fact that he comes out from the background and tries to swipe at you, so there's at least some interesting stuff in that. You can fight him early, or you can get the spike shot from Axel the Red, who's, I think, green, but whatever. Anyway, you get that, you get the crescent shot. You duff Mick Whalen, and yes, that is a Guns N' Roses reference. But the thing more so about this stage isn't so much that you're getting chased by a little sub and you're doing everything. It's the fact that the music is a remake of Bubble Crab. And I noticed it right away. And I'm like, yeah, this is neat. Do more of this. You don't want the entire game littered with remakes, sure. But I found it kind of cool that they just remade Bubble Crab a few games later, and it was a pretty nice thought. Mick Whalen's thing is he shoots at you from the side of the stage with these ice blocks, or goo blocks, what are they called? It's essentially ice cubes. Not very hard. You get the ice blocks, which is called the Gel. Hi, I'm Gel. The Gel Shaver, or the Goo Shaver. Translation is a little awkward. Fight Dynamo again. He just shows up here and there just to be annoying. Squid Adler. So, ride chaser and a lab segment. So, you're using the ride motorbike thing and you're jumping everywhere, but then you go into these labs with these electricity things kind of blocking your path, and you're supposed to hit these little frayed cables back into place so you can open these doors. He uses like ground shocks and stuff, but he's not really too hard. You just hit him, and if you notice that the bosses aren't hard, it's because they all suffer from Spark Mandrill syndrome, and that's been the case since 3. Like, even in the second game, you would have this situation where the characters wouldn't just stop dead. And I've said before that Spark Mandrill syndrome doesn't really make for intriguing boss fights, because it's hard to gauge, like, yeah, you have the weakness, but it should do more damage. And I think that's something the original series has always done well, other than the specific, I stop you in your tracks, you're stuck weapons. There's always this hint that you get the weapon, the boss is fucked because he's facing his weakness and he stops dead. That manifests pretty much since Mega Man X3. I don't really like that because it just makes it a formality. So then it just makes the stage the problem, not the boss. And that's fine, but it's also like, you do still need to have a threatening boss even with their weakness. It should make the boss easier to beat, not a foregone conclusion. So you beat Squid Adler, you do that, you get Tri Thunder, which is neat. Izzy Glow. I can't say what he's supposed to be, like little mite, a termite, a monster, a flying thing, I don't know. But he's called Izzy Glow. He lives in a castle. He's apparently a professor dude. And, the castle's a castle. There's nothing really crazy about it. What you find in this is a lot of these are like secret laboratory buildings and another secret warehouse. Another secret warehouse. And you really don't have like the Jet Stingray stage, or you have it to an extent, but what was the one? I want to say it was the mushroom boss from X4, where you climbed up the thing of stairs and it was done in like this weird parallax scrolling kind of thing. Like you could go up the stairs and then you go through a normal stage and you go up the stairs again. Like that sort of design. That doesn't happen other than one level, which is cool, but it's like every other area is described as, oh, this is a secret laboratory. This is a secret sub-lab. This is a secret planetarium laboratory. This is an electricity laboratory. And like, there are different ways you can say the same thing and, get what you mean. I think warehouse and laboratory are overused terms in this. But you do Izzy Glow stage, you get the laser from him, and then you get to like the one cool stage, which is Dark Dizzy. Again, don't know why he's called Dark Dizzy, but he's called Dark Dizzy. But his stage is like the one cool one in this entire game, where you're in a planetarium and the backdrop is very dark. You see these like stars and constellations in the background, but as you're going along, the stars light up into constellations, and then these things drop spikes at you. So you have to dodge those and the normal enemies. It's annoying because there's other parts of the stage where you do these like floaty segments over a pit. So that part sucks, but just the cool look of the planetarium, and you also have this like Gravity Man-esque stage where you flip gravity, but unlike flipping gravity and only Mega Man is flipped, the actual full-on stage is flipped around. So you get to kind of work around that. This is like the one cool thing in the game, and I really like it, because at this point, when I'm looking at a Mega Man franchise, I'm like, how intricate is the stage? How unique is the stage? Or like, how much am I just seeing stuff I've seen before? This is the one time, like even with the Gravity Man thing, I'm like, they use it well enough where I saw it just now, but the passage of time, 7 or 8 years and different technology allows you to do a different kind of concept with it. And the allure of the planetarium stage is unique. Dizzy doesn't really do much as a boss because, again, Spark Mandrill Syndrome. Like, he flies around, but he's very slow. The Skyver. This is an air fortress, an air hangar. There's not much to it. Skyver is essentially Storm Eagle 2.0. He's not really that interesting. Like, you fight him on a floating thing too. He doesn't do like the flapping the wings and throw you off. He just does variations of, like, he'll dash at you, but if you let him go to the top of the screen, he'll basically just do the angled Storm Eagle attack. So it's kind of like, well, you're just repeating Storm Eagle. So, all right. But you beat him, you get Matrix, and this stage is a lava stage. I think the cool thing about this lava stage is there's instant death segments, but you have to kind of hide underneath the... You kind of have to hide underneath, like, the floating parts of the platforms, like the hollowed out rock in the first part of the stage, so you don't frickin' die. So the lava shoots out, and it's an instant death thing. So you have to be fast and, like, hide behind certain stuff, or you have to, like, cling to the wall and jump to the wall and avoid that, and then get to the next part and get to... It's kind of like when there are those, like, death wall, like the death ceilings with the holes in the ceilings that you avoid, you know, stuff like that. Same idea. Matrix himself is very slow. You hit him with the wing spiral, he just kind of nopes it. But he himself is kind of slow. He jumps very slowly. Not as slowly as like Grizzly Slash. That was very slow, but it's still pretty obvious. Axel the Red, he just throws a lot of clones at you, and his stage is just jungle zone. There's nothing really intricate about it. It reminded me of like the jungle or the cave stage in X4, or the Neon Tiger stage, or even like Napalm Man. So it's just another jungle stage. There's nothing crazy. So by and large, the Robot Masters, or the Mavericks in this game, not all that intriguing. You have like the bubble crab music. You have a chase sequence in said stage, but you have the planetarium. Planetarium is like the one cool thing I took away from this game. Everything else is just stuff I'd seen before, or variations on things I'd seen before. Speaking of which, once you get done with all that crap, you have Zero flying to do his thing in the whatever, in the sky or in space, and then he blows the thing up. Whether he turns Maverick or he regains his stuff, you know, you do the usual Mega Man X thing, where you get the upgrade parts and they do the whatever, and then you fight him and whatever, because it always seems like you end up fighting Zero. Like these franchises loves to have X fighting Zero. They did it in X2, they do it again here, and I understand why, and the story does make sense because he's infected with a virus, but it's still kind of like, I get it, but I don't. You know, we did it, we don't need to do it again. Let's just have Zero do his own thing, you know. But whatever, it's a Sigma fight, so whatever. A lot of the Zero stage is kind of like, you either do a boss rush part, you do a side-scrolling part that's flying kind of, you keep jumping up and up and up and going down different paths and whatever. What I will say is annoying is the Quickman lasers, you know, the laser beams, they make a reappearance. So we're taking from Mega Man 2, and we're just making it longer. So half the stage, it's a short stage, but it's all chock full of instant death lasers. Instant death checkpoint lasers. I'm like, fuck. And if that wasn't bad enough, it's the Shadow Devil. And complete with the music, too. But what's more annoying is that the animation of the devil is pretty slow and very goopy. Like, in the original, like, Mega Man 1, Mega Man 3, and I would say even Mega Man 11 when he shows up, the devil, like, isn't slow to form. They have this animation in this game where he flies across the screen and he's easy enough to dodge, but he doesn't like immediately form into the devil on the other side of the screen. He takes like this weird second to go on the floor and then reform and then have the eyeball. So you do have this like, I can't hurt you unless you're part of the stage. And I'm like, stupid. So you have the devil boss, which is annoying enough, but you also have the I can't hurt you unless it's part of this segment of the like invincible until a certain part of the thing where we say he's not invincible anymore. So it's just okay. I mean, that's how he is, but still, it's annoying. But that's the devil fight. He's always annoying. Let's see. Shadow Devil. Oh! Rangda Bangda shows up in Zero Virus Stage 2. Much worse, I have to admit. He gets like full, like in the original you get like 4x3. This one I think it was either 16x9 or like really close before 16x9. I forget how 2000 tech was, but like his, like you see everything of Rangda Bangda and he doesn't look nearly as impressive. And he does the eyeball thing. You shoot the eyeball thing, and he even does a makeshift version of the spikes, but they only appear once he closes the thing. So they try to make it's a variation on the Rangda Bangda fight, and I don't know if it's as successful as the first time you face him, because you're never as good as the first time. That's just how it is. So Rangda Bangda shows up, you do Zero fight, and then you do a boss rush, and then of course you fight Sigma. Sigma 1, it's kind of a rehash of Sigma 1 from X1. Not as fun, because I think in X1 you have this like inherent, like, this guy's fucking fast and he's gonna kill you. This one, he's threatening to a point, but he does feel a bit slow. And the same holds true for his main body, which is just like this big fucking face that's in the background, and he fights you with these like knuckle hand things and these whatever that just kind of like try to squish you. They do a lot of damage, but he as a boss is just kind of sitting there, so as long as you avoid it and then hit him in the head, it's kind of easy. If it sounds like I hate this game, I kind of do, but it's not even for those reasons. A lot of the rehashing and retellings of some stuff, because you do need some nostalgia. There's nothing wrong with it. It's more how the game is paced. The biggest issue with X4, I think anybody can agree, is the voice acting, specifically the dub acting. They played very fast and loose and did not really do a good job, and the actors were kind of left high and dry, sounding really weird, and Zero had to go, "What am I fighting for?" and shit like that, and it's like Zero does not sound anything like he should, right? So, because you expect Zero to like be kind of badass, but he kind of came off as, and then so I mean that's what X is supposed to be, but like they tried to tell their story in cutscenes and voice acting in 4. In X5, they ditch all the cutscenes, which is a plus until you realize that the scrolling sound effect in the dialogue is something you're going to hear a lot. And they use the sound effect from X1, that that noise like at the beginning, and like even in the dialogue in X1, but where X1 was like, okay, we have some dialogue for like 2 stages or like 3 stages. They talk about every 5 fucking minutes. And then you have a boss who you talk to for about 3 to 5 minutes. Well, 2 minutes, I guess. I don't know. But you hear "dah, dah," because they don't have the voice acting. So I don't know if there's a setting to turn off that fucking noise. I'd hope so, because that would solve one of my issues. I'm pretty sure you can. I'm sure there's a slider or something. But I'm, just like, God shut up. And it manifests worse. And what I think is like the worst part is not even noise. It's Alia, this new character they introduced, and she interrupts the flow of the game so much. She tells you what the stage is. She tells you, hey, we have to leave early. She tells you how to do a thing rather than like experiment. She'll talk like every fucking stage. You go like 10 or 15 steps, and then she'll be like, oh, this part of the stage is bad. 0, can you hear me? X, can you hear me? And it's just like, do you have to... It wasn't even later games where you could have her like overlay. Maybe this is a function of how early PSX, like late PSX was versus, you know, later on, because in an RPG, like stopping to talk makes sense. You're focusing on the battle stuff, then you're focusing on the game stuff. But we now live in a world, but we live in a world where it's like they overlay a lot of dialogue while you're walking around now. And again, they could have done that in Mega Man X, where she interrupts the stuff, but you don't stop to listen to her do it. In X5, she stops you when you're in this like pulse pounding segment with the Ride Chaser bike to say, oh, we're in this new segment now. Or, oh no, you're jumping in the Grizzly Slash thing, and X, you have to blow up these things or they'll blow up fast. I'm trying to run as fast as I can to avoid blowing up. Could you shut the fuck up for 5 seconds? And then when you get past the segment, they're like, well, now we're in a warehouse, or now we're in a lab, and now we do a thing, and oh no, this is they over explain everything to the point where you have like no agency and no like inquisitiveness about, okay, this stage is pulling this crap. And I get that there's an urge to not have the player get fucked over by something you didn't expect, but that's part of the learning process. I think people at like Mega Man 2 were pissed off when they found out about the lasers of the Yoku blocks and Fireman stage being all over the fucking stage, but you were never like stopped. Imagine Mega Man 2, where before you get to those, you're told you have X amount of seconds to jump through this place or you die. And then you get to the Flame Man stage, and then you're just like, or is it Heat Man? I forget. You do like the Yoku block segment, but before you get to the Yoku blocks near the end of the stage, you're like, Mega Man, you have to jump and you have to do the thing or you will die. I'm like, you don't need to explain every goddamn thing to the player. This game does not respect you for that. And maybe like they were going for like super little kids, maybe, I don't know, but stopping the game every 15 to 20 seconds to describe, oh, you're in this place now, oh, you're in this place now, and then when you're doing a fucking boss, I'm just like, this noise is in my fucking head. Stop making that noise. Stop interrupting the concept of the flow of the game. It's a Mega Man X game, for fuck's sake. It's supposed to be fast-paced. The first 3 games didn't have this problem. Mega Man X4 didn't have this problem. I don't know why they decided to stop all momentum in this game just to tell you exactly what you have to do. It's not that hard. It's not that complicated a game. You jump and you shoot or you stab things, you know? And even some of the stuff, like if you want to explain like how the mechanisms of some puzzles work, okay, but like if you see the fucking Quickman bars, you know what they are. If you know that you're seeing explosions, you can infer. You don't need to be told every goddamn thing. And I like having people explain things to a fault, But there comes a point where telling people everything you do before you even do it, that's what you do at work. That's not what you do in a video game. Give you the tools to figure shit out, but then let the player experiment. Stopping them every 3 to 5 minutes because you're in a new part of the stage just to explain things is really fucking chintzy. And I think that's really the damning problem with this game, is for its faults of being a little hackneyed by this point and, you know, a little long in the tooth, much like Mega Man 5, just slowing the player down and not respecting their ability to kind of infer things from the stage layout kind of sucks. And this is where Mega Man X as a franchise kind of starts to fumble. I forget if 6 does this. Obviously, I know 7 goes a completely different fucking direction, but like this is the first one that's like out and out bad because nothing is not explained, and they over explain it and they overdo it, and it feels like the player is not respected. So would I recommend playing Mega Man X5? That's no. That is a no. Like, at all. Because it does not respect you as a player. It does not respect your ability to make an informed decision about what level to do, how, and why. Because you're basically told how to do it. Rather than, oh, I jump and shoot things. I can do that. I can hide behind a wall. I can do this thing. I can do things on my own, game. I don't need an ancillary character to exist solely to disrupt gameplay. And it really sucks because I think like Alia could be good as a character, like if she had something other to say other than being tutorial lady. It's kind of stupid and it's kind of sad because it's like there could have been something good, because Mega Man X4 was good. I didn't see any reason why this game couldn't have been good, but they waste their time, and it wastes your time, and it sucks. Anyway, speaking of stuff that doesn't suck, let's go to the list of stuff. We've got okay, so Mega Man X5 is done. So next up, starting in June, is going to be To Your Eternity, Breath of Fire 3, The Story of Above Average. We have In the Clear, Moonlit, Dusk, Lament of Innocence and Curse of Darkness from Castlevania, and then No Guns Life. So I've got stuff to talk about, and then of course I'm going to be doing my anime discussion stuff every couple weeks, as I always do. But that'll be it for what really kind of sucked. The 5th versions of both Mega Man and Mega Man X kind of sucked, and I hope that like when I do this next year, like 6 and X6 don't. But I suppose I'll figure that out next time. Citizen Strife, signing off.